We all good, Alex? Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to everybody who's here in our sanctuary, enjoying the sunlight filtering through our glorious stained glass windows this morning. And also, hi to everybody who is watching our service remotely. We are so glad that you are here. I'm Reverend Dr. Claudia Hall. My pronouns are she or they, and I am so delighted to be here as the minister. We welcome everyone this morning to our home of comfort, spirit, justice, and love. We are Unitarian Universalists. Thank you so much for that, Joy. The words, if any of you would like the words to that, are here. I'll have them out in the fellowship hall after service. It's actually a really beautiful affirmation poem in addition to being delightful music. An important ritual for those of us in the Unitarian Universalist faith is lighting a chalice. We have as many different interpretations of this as there are people who are part of our beloved community. And we include in this today the light of reason, the warmth of community, and the fire of hope, which I think is something we all desperately need these days. I invite you to join me, whether you're here or online, and have your chalice or candle handy, and then we're all going to light it together as we say the unison words projected on our screen. We hallow this time together by kindling the lamp of our heritage. I invite you to join me as you are willing and able in a spirit of prayer and meditation. Blessed Spirit of time, you who fill each day with the rampant potential of all life, we have gathered here today to celebrate not just what is, but what can be. When we are disappointed by the past or the present, may we find solace and hope in the fact that each new day offers another chance for the redemption of the human heart. May each of us here, conscious of the ways in which our deeds reflect our values, treat ourselves and others with the infinite worth and dignity we trust they have. And in doing so, may we create a future worthy of such a wonderful and wonder-filled vision of hope. Amen, and blessed be. I invite you to remain seated and join us either in the gray hymnal or projected on the wall, number 290, Bring, O Past, Your Honor. It's a tradition here at the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Alton to place each service within the larger sources and principles that we, as UUs, hold dear. While we are a religion with no requirement of creed or belief, we do have things that we affirm and support, and the service today comes from our first principle, the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Today, we're going to dive into the tension between holding this ideal of every human's worth and value and the reality that some people act in ways that are not worth our respect. As we gather today, we ask the questions around our ideals and our principles, and we ask, do they hold up in real life? How can our values and our principles offer us ways to live out our faith in times of such turmoil? These are not just abstract philosophical questions, but deeply meaningful choices for the days that we have found ourselves in. Along that line, I invite our kids. Do you want to come forward or do you want to stay in your seat? You want to come forward? All right. We're going to read the book, What If Everybody Did That? Can I take this out? Or will I mess it up? All right. Come on forward. All right. Let's see if we can keep... So this book is called What If Everybody Did That? Would you like to be my big helpers today and help me flip pages? Awesome. Can you flip the page? I know, they like to stick. It's a new book, so the pages are sticking together. All right. When we went to the zoo, I fed just a little of my popcorn to the bear. The zookeeper waved his broom and said, "But what if everybody did that?" We were in the grocery store, and I just wanted to see how fast the cart would go. But the manager stopped me and said, "What if everybody did that?" You see on this page, everybody's fighting and going crazy. On the way to Grandma and Grandpa's in Kansas, I was going to drop one soda can out the window. But the patrolman pulled us over and said, "What if everybody did that? Look at how trashed it would all be." I know. At Uncle William's wedding, I just wanted a little lick of the frosting from the fancy cake. But the lady behind the table looked at me over her glasses and said, "What if everybody did that? The cake would be kind of a mess." I told the babysitter I was only going to take a bath once a year. As she shooed me into the bathroom, she said, "What if everybody did that? Look at how dirty they'd be." During story time, I had something important to say. I just didn't want to wait till the end of the story. The librarian put her finger to her lips and said, "What if everybody did that?" See, she wouldn't be able to read the book because they'd all be yelling, huh? While I was in the car waiting for Dad, I honked the horn. I just honked a couple of times, but Mr. Thompson came to his door and said, "What if everybody did that?" See, you wouldn't hear anything. Beep, beep, honk, burp. At the swimming pool, I just wanted to splash a little, but the lifeguard blew the whistle and said, "What if everybody did that? The pool would be empty." On the bus, I stood up to see the fire truck. The driver glared at me in the rearview mirror and said, "If everybody did that, you could get in an accident." I didn't want to hang my coat on the rack at school, but Miss Sanders made me pick it up and said, "What if everybody did that? Nobody could find their stuff." At recess, I was going to throw a snowball at Sammy, but he said, "What if everybody did that? People would get hurt." Last but not least, at the football game, I wanted to run on the field and get the quarterback's autograph, but the official waved his arms and said, "What if everybody did that? It would be a disaster." I thought about this all day long, and when I came home, I gave my mom a great big hug. Hey, what if everybody did that instead? Maybe everybody should. The end. All right, we're going to sing our kids out with our musical blessing. With you, learn and grow. Usually I try to find a video of the books I'm going to read so that the adults can see all the pictures, but I think you get the hang of how that book was going. As part of our weekly worship service, we do get a chance to ask ourselves the important questions. What if everybody cared about one another? What if everybody reached out to those in need? This is how we're building and rebuilding and future building our beloved community. So we ask that if you would like to recognize a joy, sorrow, or milestone in your life, that you go down that aisle and come forward this one, and you can place a stone or several stones in the water to represent those joys and sorrows that we share together as a community. I invite you now to come forward and place in the water the symbols of what you carry in your heart. Our next hymn this morning is number 86, Blessed Spirit of My Life. Good morning again and welcome, both everybody in the sanctuary and those folks that are joining us online, whether now or later. Usually, a new minister tries very hard to sort of be accommodating and welcoming and to do whatever they can not to poke any sacred cows. Maybe this is a warning to me. But here I am a month in, poking away, so y'all get to be warned today. In all seriousness, I have a deep and abiding respect for the fact that as a denomination, we aren't afraid to challenge ourselves, both as an institution and as individuals. For those of you who may not know about the denominational stuff going on, the UUA as a whole has a process where every so often we have to look at what's called Article 2 of the bylaws. And it's officially known, as Article 2, but we generally shorten it to our principles and our sources. We are officially and forever a creedless religion, meaning there is no test of belief. There is nothing that you have to think or profess or agree to in order to belong. But we do have values that we're organized around and that have become as close to a statement of faith, at least it's a statement of action, as we get. These are getting updated and looked at and adjusted, and there are lots of pros and cons, and General Assembly was full of lots of folks talking about all kinds of things they would like to see or not see in these. As a religion, it's very interesting because the vast majority of religions have what they believe are a God-given or God-revealed scripture that, of course, you then must follow because it was given to you by a higher being. As a faith, we do not have this. Instead, many of us may find spiritual support in those texts, in the sutras or the Bible or any of those, but we don't have to follow them. As a whole, what we have instead is an idea of progressive or continuous revelation, where our reason as human beings and our personal experiences hold at least the same amount of weight as the traditions that we come from. Now, as Unitarian Universalists, you are individually free to accept or reject anything I have or will say. I'm just going to be talking about overall trends, not immovable doctrine. This lack of strict rules and an emphasis on personal experience has often led folks from outside to accuse that we just believe anything we want and that we just do whatever we like. And this isn't true. The principles and sources are one attempt that we have to kind of create flexible boundaries in which we can love and work and grow together spiritually. Over the next few months, one of the things I love to do is preaching series. And so over the next few months, I'm going to be talking about our different principles and the ways they are possibly being changed as a way to kind of dive into our collective theology at this moment. Now, it's interesting because a lot of people don't think much about theology, right? It's something that ministers and people in seminaries and people over there do. But in the Unitarian Universalism, our theology is what we co-create together. What we as a congregation are doing together, what we decide is important together, is who we are. There's no seminary telling us you have to think this. There's no revelation that says you must believe these things. So it is just as important, perhaps more important, for everyone in the pews, for every congregational member, to be exploring and thinking and digging into this as it is for the people back at the denominational headquarters. So the first of our current principles says that we affirm the inherent worth and dignity of each person. And I'm not sure how this lands for each of you, but I struggle with this principle for a few reasons. First, I think about who does this apply to and when? And second, how do we define worth and dignity? How does that mesh or clash with our seventh principle, which says everything is interdependent on each other? First and foremost, talk about who does this apply to and when. As a Jew, there's a thought experiment that goes like this. Was Hitler created in the image of God? And if so, when did he lose it? Putting it in UU terms, does a Nazi have inherent worth and dignity? Do they deserve to keep it even when they're doing reprehensible things? At what point, if any, does a human being cease to be worthy? It seems easy to me to look at somebody who's devoted like Hitler. He's a great example because he was just so horrible, right? You can look at him and say, he doesn't deserve our dignity. He doesn't deserve to be held in any kind of esteem as a human being, that he only deserves the dignity that he offered to others, which was, of course, none. But then again, doesn't that just lead to escalating hate, which doesn't solve the problems? When is an action that we take justice that promotes equality between people, and when is it just retribution for the ways we've been treated horribly? Can we even divorce an individual from the systems that they are enmeshed in? If it wasn't for 2,000 years of Christianity dumping on the Jewish people and saying they killed Christ, Hitler wouldn't have had a way to hook into, right, to create the horrors of the Holocaust. If a person in an unjust system acts badly, do we punish the person or the system that created them? As with most of our values, it is very easy to agree to it in theory, but it can be really hard to put it into practice, especially in a difficult situation. It's one thing to talk about Hitler and something that happened going on 100 years ago now. It's much harder to talk about our parents or our friends or the people at our workplace that have treated us terribly because we didn't fit some ideal that they had. What about when people do bad things for what they think are good reasons? I think about all the people who have been brainwashed right now by the horrible media and other people, that they really feel they're protecting children by denying them medical care if they're trans. They really feel that somehow these children are incapable of knowing who they are and that they have to be protected from those evil people who want to give them medical care? Is there a way to stop cycles of harm and systems of oppression while respecting inherent worth and dignity? I'll be honest and say that I do not have an easy answer, and I certainly do not have a one-size-fits-all answer to these questions that I am posing. I agree on paper that all human beings deserve equality. I think that's a very fundamental thing that we as UUs believe. But I struggle with how to apply it in situations when there are so many competing systems at work. In fact, this leads to my second point, which is, what do we mean by inherent worth and dignity? Is it simply having good manners and being nice to people? Is it restorative justice, where we take a person who's done a bad thing and we say, okay, we're not going to punitively punish you like our current prison system, but what we are going to do is you have to make it right. You have to do things to restore the harm that you have caused. And then you ask yourself, well, but can you even do that in situations such as murder? You can never bring that person back. Is it trying to see, is inherent worth and dignity just trying to see the humanity of someone even when we have to hold boundaries against their bad behavior? What about when an overall decent person, which I like to think everyone in this room and everyone watching us is an overall decent person, how can we have inherent worth and dignity when we've done something bad in some way? This is where I think some of the proposed changes for Article 2 might actually be helpful to us. The new language reads, and I'm quoting here, equity. We declare that every person has the right to flourish with inherent dignity and worthiness. We covenant to use our time, wisdom, attention, and money to build and sustain fully accessible and inclusive communities. In other words, the idea is to update this to be less about individual actions and more about the systems of our world and our faith that are either uplifting or oppressing other human beings. Every person deserves the right to flourish, not just to survive, not just to barely scrape by, but to actually thrive. And any systems or groups that want to take this away or limit it are ones that we collectively are opposing, even as we know we ourselves can be organizations that are oppressing or harming people, and even as we have to look inside to see the ways our own systems need to change. This idea that we all deserve to flourish is not just something for Sunday morning. It is something that we can each live into every day for ourselves and for others. I'm going to be offering a class here in the fall about social justice for the rest of us. And what I mean by that is if you're an introvert or an empath, someone with disabilities, or you're caregiving for someone, if you want to engage in social justice beyond just protests, if you want to find a way that you, with your uniqueness, can really make a difference in the world, that's what we're going to be looking at in that class. We're going to look at how to find your own particular way to do justice work, and not just do the work, but to do it in ways that is healthy and sustainable and that empowers you as well as others. One of the hard things is that I think a lot of times when we do social justice work, we get burned out because stuff doesn't change. You know, last week, for those of you that remember, I was preaching on how they talked about this beautiful exhibit called Loving, and it's a bunch of portraits of men through the years in loving poses with each other. Some of these date back to the 1900s and 1850s even. So one of them was holding a sign in about 1900 that said, "We're not married, but we're willing to be." And I think to myself, it wasn't until 2008, 108 years later, those young men had long since died before the right to marry who they loved was allowed. So social justice is not a quick fight. It is not something that is easy, because we may work our whole lives and not see the end in sight. But it doesn't mean we don't have to do the work. So finding ways to do the work in a way that is sustainable, in a way that we don't burn out or get disillusioned or absolutely collapse, because we too deserve to flourish. One of the things I like about the changes is the idea that it's systemic, that each of us has a piece of the puzzle and we are each needed to put it together, but that it is way bigger than we are, and it's okay to just do this bit. As someone with a lot of disabilities, I feel that myself when I want to just go and do and visit everybody and get to know everybody and be everywhere and do everything. And it's like, you just physically can't do that. You have to make choices with how to spend your time. And it really can be depressing when you want to do and you just don't have the physical capacity to do. And so finding ways to have my piece of the puzzle and to contribute in that way, while also trusting that others have their pieces and they're all going to bring them together. That's the kind of thing that can make social justice, instead of being depressing, it can make it sustainable when we understand that we're laying the groundwork for future generations to be even more. Now, one thing I do think should be lifted up out of this is that no two inclusive communities are the same. We've been talking a lot about this in the ways that we're accessible and inclusive or not in this congregation. Our goal is a place where all are welcomed, all are interdependent, all are loved, and all are nurtured, that all people have a chance to flourish. But the truth is, we as a community can't do it all. We can't have services in 85 languages. We can't have locations in 65 different spots, right? We're limited in our time and our money and on our talent and our available people to do things. So we have to focus on what's going to be most inclusive for us right now, knowing that we can't do it all, but also knowing that if we just throw up our hands in despair and say, well, I guess we can't do it, so we just won't try, that also won't get us anywhere. So for us right now, our focus is on making sure that people with physical disabilities can be in our space. This is something that we have worked so hard and we're so stressed out about. It is this huge hurdle that is facing us, right? We had a handicap ramp, and now we don't. We had ability for people to do things, and now we don't. So where are we going, and what are we doing, and how can we get to this promised land? As I said, it is so easy to get dissatisfied and be upset by anything less than perfection, and it is equally easy to get bogged down by the difficult things that do not change at all. And neither one is helpful for us as a congregation if we're going to grow and change and move forward over time. On the one hand, we have to keep pushing forward, right? We have to put a goal in front of us, and right now, this goal that we have is get into an accessible space. As the moving committee is meeting and looking at new places to go and new things to go, that is the absolute unnegotiable point that we have. It must be accessible for people with physical challenges. Period. End of discussion. We're not even looking, we're not even thinking about any spaces that don't have that. So we've got this goal and we keep pushing forward to it, but at the same time, it's hard because we keep finding places and then it crumbles around us. So it gets easy to feel despairing about this process. But as we hold back our frustration and our pain, as we trust that when we're doing the best we can, something good will come from it, we will get there. And this is a balancing act that we're living into right now, where we are still meeting here on Sundays, knowing it's not perfect, and then we know we're going to find somewhere, we know we're going to move somewhere that's going to be physically accessible, but we're just not there yet. And I have to say, I hate being told that I have to wait my turn for equality, that things take time, or that change will happen, just not yet. I hate that because I and everyone deserve to live in a world where I'm loved and respected and allowed to fully participate. So I'm not going to tell you, just wait, it'll get better. I'm not going to tell you, you got to wait your turn, other people are ahead of you in line for equality. That's not what I'm here to say. I am very aware of the problems and our lack thereof when it comes to solutions right now. And no matter how agonizingly slow our process is, I will not stop until we get to the inclusive community. But yeah, we're not there yet. And the truth is, once we get there, once we find a space that's fully accessible and we get into that space and we welcome back with open arms all of you who are not able to be here in person yet because we're not there, we're so excited to have that. But once we achieve that goal, there will be another need, another access, more people at the margins, more people that are being rejected, especially on the Missouri side, who need the circle expanded and for us to adapt and change so that they too can be welcome in our beloved community. This is, in fact, I feel, the essence of what it is to be a Unitarian Universalist, that this is the nature of our faith. We will always be between the tension of being in community with people that we love and care for, but also knowing that there is always more we can do and must do to keep widening the circle of love. We're going to have times where we make great strides on being more inclusive, more aware, more welcoming. And there will be and have been and will again be times where we fall flat, where we fail to see the ways we need to widen the circle, and we fail to see where we have our faults. The purpose of faith being a practice. I've always wondered, why do you practice medicine? Shouldn't you know what you're doing if you're writing me a prescription or doing surgery on me? But the truth is, it is a practice, and it is something that you have to grow into and get better at and develop. And there's no point in a medical practitioner's life where they can just stand there and say, I have achieved, I now know everything there is to know about the human body and its workings, I never have to think again. That's not how it works, and it's the same way with faith. It is the same way with faith. We practice our faith. And it nudges us, sometimes slowly and sometimes quickly, towards being better people and being a better community. We're focused on dignity and equality and flourishing for all those who are here, and we're focused on finding ways to support the dignity, equality, and flourishing of those who are not here yet. That is putting feet to our faith and offering the world hope and healing. I have been doing a really in-depth study in all of the communities that we're contemplating moving to of who else is out there, who are our allies, who has a rainbow flag, who is standing there, saying we welcome you into this community. And not just we welcome you, because we've had a few churches that we've talked to now that they're like, oh yes, we love doing work with the gay community, we love being inclusive. But then when we say, great, can we have a gay wedding at your place? They go, oh, well. We're practicing our faith. We're moving forward inch by inch. We're trying to make strides. We're trying to find allies. And we're trying, most of all, to get this message of hope and healing and inclusion and welcome to the people who need to hear it. We're going to stumble. We're going to fall. We're going to make mistakes and miss things. But then, in the mistake, as we work to overcome it, we can also be an example of how spiritual growth happens. It is so easy when there is a mistake to blame someone else. It is so very hard to say, you know what, we totally blew it. And when we can make those confessions, we're not confessing to a God that we've done some deep, dark sin against him. What we are saying is to those we love that, yes, we have stumbled, we have failed, we have not done as good as we should or could or might have. And sometimes we need to say it to ourselves. I don't know. I don't know who else needs to hear this, but I need to hear it. I'm a workaholic. Legitimately, that is the way that my addictive personality has channeled itself. And I have to constantly be reminded by my body that you can't do the 80-hour weeks anymore, and you can't do this overcompensating thing anymore. And my body reminds me of this in some unpleasant ways sometimes. And so what I have to do is I have to confess to myself, I'm sorry, I wasn't treating this body, which is the only one I've got. We haven't figured out how to alter carbon jump bodies yet, right? So this is the only meat sack I've got to live in. And if I'm not treating it right, then I'm doing myself a disservice. I'm not being good to myself. I'm not treating myself with the flourishing that we all deserve. So one of the things that I want us is to be reminded why we do this work in the first place. And what we're trying to do as a people, as a religion, as a faith is very simple. We want to make the world a place full of hope and love and joy. We believe in life and in helping all we meet to have that life be as wonderful as possible for themselves, for ourselves, and for us all. So our first principle does, in fact, lead into the seventh. The inherent worth and dignity, the equal right to flourish, goes into the joy of interdependence. For when we lift ourselves up and we lift others up, we all rise together and we create a wonderful shelter that can overcome the storms of life and give us a loving home, both for us who are here now and for the generations to come. May in 108 years someone stand in a pulpit like this and preach to a congregation in the Metro East and say it was because they worked hard and laid that groundwork that we are able to be here today. Amen, and blessed be. Our final hymn is number 354, or on the wall, We Believe in Life. As Robin passes around our offering basket, I want to remind us all that our community of faith is supported only by your giving. If you're new here this morning, please don't give. We want this service to be our gift to you. Our stewardship is not just our finances, but it's our time and talent helping our church. And we ask that you look on the board or contact any of us if you need a way to get more involved in our church. We're always We're always happy to have you. Give what you will and what you are able, for you are a generous people. Please join with me in our offering prayer. May this offering equip us to inspire love and seek justice. So, announcements. I have at least one. Well, I have two, actually. One, I'm going to be tackling folks, not really, but I'm going to be letting everybody have some fabric squares today while we have our potluck lunch after service. And please feel free to write notes of encouragement, hope, etc. to Dee. And then we're going to do that as a quilt for their ordination. We're so excited. And also, don't forget, we have our new 7 Principles cards that feel free to take them with you. I was really blessed this week. I got to talking with a young person at Joann's, and they were very upset because of an encounter they had had with someone who was not as friendly and welcoming to her as they should have been. And so I was able to be like, yes, we are 100% on your side as a transgender person, and here's information on all the churches in the area. So these are just a really low-key way. I do not want people to knock on doors. It's really annoying. I hate it myself. But, it's a low-key way. When something comes out and you have an opportunity, you can just share that with family, friends, and even total strangers. It's very low-key, and we appreciate that. I have that. I also know Mary has an amazing announcement. We're talking about how past generations have given us the capacity to do things in the present, and you've got some really cool stuff to say about that.
Yeah, I have several announcements. One, if you have anything you want included in next month's newsletter, please email me that information by this coming Tuesday, July 25th. And a few weeks ago, I received information about a just published book of stories written by David Wiseman, one of our beloved longtime church members who died in 2019. He was a wonderful storyteller, and his family has collected some of the stories and have published this as a children's book. The Day Seymour Saw More and Other Stories. Seymour is a spider. It's a reading level, maybe 4th grade, but it certainly could be read to younger people. But I'm going to give this copy to our RE department, so it will be in their collection. Secondly, Mona Hebert and I were in our public library the other day, and on the new bookshelf for children, we saw this book called Everything Possible by Reverend Fred Small. And you might remember the title of this book is of one of our hymns, number 1019 in our teal-colored hymnal. And the words of the song make up the text of the book, along with pictures on each page. And I'm suggesting that this also be added to the RE collection. And apparently at the back of when the book ends, the story ends, you can scan the code and it'll play the music. I don't know how that works, but that's what it says it does. Next, the plates and flatware we're going to be using for potluck, and I hope everybody stays for potluck, are compostable. So don't throw them away. I have a bin out there with a sign saying put the compostable items in this bin, and hopefully somebody who does compostable stuff will take them home. Okay. And if anybody needs a name tag, you need an updated name tag, you lost your name tag, you don't have one of the semi-permanent ones, please, or you want to be added to the list of people who get our email flyers or newsletters, please talk to me after church. And Joy has an announcement.
So next Sunday on the 30th, I guess me and my mom are actually going to be in the pulpit doing a. It's kind of it's an interactional. Called Singing Our Visions, and through its social reforms through music. So please come. We're going to do a lot of singing and learning about social reforms through the ages. And then it's also Alex's birthday that day, so we're going to have cake and ice cream. So if that's an incentive to come for cake and ice cream, please do.
All right.
Oh, and we're going to be singing the.
I'm about to talk about that one. I'm about to talk about that one. All right, so next week. So, anybody else have any announcements that we've missed?
We haven't heard anything about potential buyers. Mary has got a follow-up call for a potential person. And we are going to come up. So we are going to do something tomorrow. I guess I can say something about this.
Oh, I got it. So, Mary, did you happen to take the last bit of my script? I'm like shuffling and going, wait a minute. There we go. So just before we're going to extinguish our chalice and then have our closing words, our postlude today is going to be really fun. It's actually a song we can sing, and it's in a Jewish folk tune kind of music, so you just kind of sing along, and every time you sing it, she's going to do it a little faster, so it's kind of like one of those songs, and we're totally going to make a mess of it, and it's going to be great. But the important thing about this is it actually is about our first principle that we were just talking about today. So stay tuned for that. And then again, we do want to invite everybody, whether or not you brought something, we would love for you to stay for our potluck. Gives me a chance to get to know folks and to talk to folks and to just kind of have a good old time and celebrate. I know there is at least banana bread, potato salad, and cupcakes out there. I'm not sure what else has come in since I was there. And gluten-free casserole. All right. I invite you to join me now in reciting our prayer as we extinguish our chalice. The light of truth and meaning cannot be put out. We are keepers of this flame until we meet again. May each and every one of us know that we are beings of an infinite value and unlimited potential. We are, as Carl Sagan said and many others before him, children made of stardust. May each of us reflect these truths into the lives of others and into the lives of ourselves when we doubt, until we can all shine equally and we can all truly flourish together. Amen and blessed be.
Now, play this through once. Here we go.
All right, now that we've worked up an appetite, let's eat.